Okay, everybody, this is Shay. Going to do a daily visual development real quick here in Arcana Labs. So with this one, I'm going to start with this sketch, pretty rough sketch, just basic silhouette, some basic design elements I want to get, but nothing terribly detailed. But the first thing I want to do here is I'm going to take this in Photoshop and I'm going to blur this up a little bit with a Gaussian blur. Just to maybe soften some of that sketch work in there a little bit. And save it as PNG. I'm going to hop back into Arcana. And I'm going to go to the Modify suite. And navigate to my file. Select it, import it, open it. Okay, there it is. I'm going to try a couple things. First thing I'll do is I like to use... I've got a couple of, for this particular workflow, I've got a couple of models I like to use. Typically the agentic models are really good at this kind of thing. So I'm going to go ahead and select Seedream 4. I'm going to leave my aspect ratio the same. And I'm just going to say, make this sketch a weird bird monster with claw hands and horns. I'll leave my transformation that basically determines how much of your sketch influences your final generation here. And I'm going to turn that, I like that at about 60, somewhere between 60 and, or 50 and 60%. Transform, Seedream. And we'll go ahead and do one in Context Pro. I like that for this also. And we got a couple fails on Seedream there, so we'll see what that is. So my guess as to what that is I told it to just stick with the same aspect ratio. So let's go ahead and make that 1:1 and see what we get. And failed generations don't cost you anything, typically. And now we'll go ahead and jump to Context Pro and just keep that at 1:1. And keep the transformation the same. And then I'll do Nano Banana Pro. Okay, these are in, so this is, and it'll show you over here which model you've used. On the right, that's Seedream for that first one. This one's Seedream. So it's filling out these sketches quite a bit more. So I believe that was Context Pro. Yeah. So Context Pro gave me a couple, it still kept it really sketchy. You can see the reference coming across. But unlike the Seedream, which really held the pose and the general kind of thought of it. And then these are Nano Banana, which went ahead and added some color to it, which I don't hate. Okay, all of those are doable. Let's do something else. So let's make this sketch a photorealistic image of a weird bird monster with claw hands and horns. We got the best stuff from Nano Banana Pro. Let's go ahead and try Nano Banana at 1:1. Transform. And let's go ahead and do Seedream also. Okay, those are in. The first batch is Nano Banana. You can kind of see it kept the basic idea of it. The silhouette's not quite the same, although that's not bad. I don't mind that. Seedream really leaned into the sketch more. I like that quite a bit. Even with this weird kind of banding on that, there's a lot about that I like. That's also nice. So these are good. They feel a little more like sculptural pieces, which is fine. If I transform that less, let's try it with Seedream. I'm on Seedream 4.5. Let's try Seedream 4 and also see what we get. Seedream 4 is a little cheaper on your credits, so let's go ahead and try that. In the meantime, while we're waiting on those, I'm going to hop back to a couple of these more sketchy looking ones. I like the silhouette on him. These go a little off from like the basic proportions. I don't mind them, but I want to go ahead and try to stick to something closer to this. So let's take this guy. Let's move him to source. And before we do the photorealistic thing, let's add some color. So a good way to do this is to make this a marker drawing with a green body, pale purple beak, yellow horns, and just leave it at that and see what we get. And then we can see that our other ones are done down here. And here they are. These were Seedream 4.5. Not too dissimilar. Well, the first two, this is quite a bit off, which is, again, we're just trying to generate ideas. Now, these are the color versions here. It's cleaned up some of that sketchiness. So let's pick one we like. This is pretty simplified, but feels pretty close to that. Let's move it to source. Make this a photo with detailed texture, muted colors, and let's ensure, or try to ensure, that it stays in a white environment. And white environment. And I'm going to stick with Seedream 4. What I'll also do is, while that's cranking, I'm going to go ahead and, so we've got these lines on here. Let's see if we can kind of remove some of those from one of these others. Like, they're pretty prominent here, so let's just see. And we'll stick with Seedream 4. Remove vertical and horizontal. Let's call them brown scarring lines and see if it can figure that out. Then back down here to see what we've got. Okay, these are starting to turn out. I like these as kind of, you know, felt toy designs. Why it kind of decided on that, I don't know. I could have specified scales, I could have specified feathers, but but I like these. And then our scarring lines. Okay, that did an okay job of it. That's not too bad. I could live with that. Let's go to this guy. I like him. Let's give him a little more detail. I could keep rendering and trying this and try to get a couple versions. What did I use for that? C-Dream 4. Let's do that, and let's use Nano Banana Pro. The same setting, and just see how different it is. While we're doing that, let's take this guy. Let's kind of flesh out these details a little bit more. And we'll move him to Enhance. Okay, so when I try to move it to Enhance, it warns me that it's too large. The pixel size is too large. So what I want to do now is download it. Just manually jump to Enhance. Upload in my downloads folder, which I think is here. Grab it. And it will resize it to fit. So it's going to downscale the image. Modify, I can see I've got 3 new things up here. And these are the Nano Banana Pro versions. Modify. Modify. These are the Nano Banana Pro versions. Here. Much different result. I like both of those quite a bit. So either one of those could be a finished thing. But let's go to Enhance. Load that image in. Downscale it. Somewhere we glitched a little bit and I had to refresh. There we go. Now what we want to do is click here to make that a little smaller. Right now it's kind of felty and fabricy. So let's do creativity at 3, sharpness at medium, photo hard. Let's leave styles. Let's leave all that unchanged. And I'm just going to describe the texture we're looking for. So feathers. Let's do some leather. This belly area. Claws. Horns. Glossy eyes. And let's crank the creativity up to about 4. And we'll stick with Arcana's enhance rather than jump into magnific, and we'll enhance that. Let's jump back here to these. I like both of those quite a bit. What I want to do is I'll go in and try to pull out some more detail. And these were rendered in Nano Banana Pro 2K, so it's probably going to be too high a resolution. So when I add it to enhance, it's going to tell me that it's too large. So again, we'll go and we'll download, hop to enhance, upload at the bottom, grab that, downscale, switch that, and then I'm going to go ahead and the only one of these I'm going to change is take the feathers off of there. It kept the prompt from the previous one, and I'm going to keep the creativity about the same and pump the sharpness up a little bit and everything else, and enhance. Okay, the first one is in. So we pulled some more detail out of that. It's a little bit sharper. just like that. I like the other one enough that I'm probably not going to do much more in trying to get this into a certain point. But I am going to go ahead and send it to motion. And for this, I'm going to use a model that lets me do a start frame and an end frame. I'm going to add this image to the favorites and then go to my favorites and drop it in to the end frame. And I'm going to use CDance Pro, and this is just kind of a look for me, so I don't need high resolution. So I'm going to use CDance Pro 720p and see if I can get a 360 degree full rotation of the character and generate that. What I'm also going to do is jump back to modify, and I'm going to change my image, and I'm going to pick from my library, and this is that one that I liked. And I'm going to ask for a grid of 4 different poses. And I'll use Seedream for that. And I'll go ahead and turn up my transform. Our enhance, the second one is done. And this was the other image. It did sharpen that up and added some more detail into that. I really like what it's done to these horns up here. That's pretty good. I'm going to now favorite this one. Send it to motion. And I'm also going to go back to my favorites, drop it in as the end frame, and run that exact same 360 degree on there again and see if we get. Our first one was in with the other character. So that does a pretty good job of kind of filling in, you know, the rest of the design. Not things I would have necessarily planned, but that's one way to do it. The thing is, if I go back to this one, and instead of 1-to-1, we pick, let's say we do 16:9 here. And then run the same thing. We're going to get a probably very different version of that, but we'll try. We'll just see what we got. Back in modify, we've got our new angles on this guy. They're not extreme, but we do get a couple different ones. And this is why I like doing a grid of 4, because you get, you know, 4 times as many versions as you get with just running a 1 image like that. So it's a little cheaper to get more variations. So these might be something I would pull from to finish this out more. Like this one doesn't have that big kind of sail thing in the back. Go back to motion here and see what we got on this one. Yeah, so he's a fun character. Feels very much like a toy right now. We put him in motion and maybe relight him. Brings a little more realism to it probably. And then our other version of this one, let's see if it fits the frame. Okay, that cell is a bit different. I probably should have specified that it fit the frame. But again, this is just kind of playing around. I can do something else with that later if I want. But there we go. We got those two designs we could work with. Then we've got all these other variations down here at the bottom that we can continue to play around with. Pull out more detail shots. A lot of these I could turn into something else. I could do toy design, I could do character design, creature design for, a show, whatever. Just sculptural design. But they all came from a very rough sketch. A very, very rough sketch. Where the silhouette was really the main thing. All right, that's today's Daily Visual Dev.